hardly any movies showing the Aztecs. The emotional connection of modern Mexicans is overwhelmingly with pre-Columbian Mexico, not with Hispanic Mexico. Strangely, they haven't made that the focus of their cinema. Almost no Mexican movies have dealt with pre-Columbian Mexico. So far as I know, you are watching the only one that was ever made that didn't have the Spaniards in it, but had the Mexicans living in a world of their own.
We wanted a movie of immersion in a lost world, and this will have to do, but you can learn to love it. It's entirely in the Aztec language of Nahuatl, with Spanish and, for the first time ever, English subs, the latter by yours truly. The movie is on my channel in full, and please spare me any lectures about how Mexica is a more correct name than Aztec. I do know that. We kick off the movie with some book burning, by no less a man than the Aztec Prime Minister Tlacaelel. This act is rich in symbolism, for we associate book burning not only with the Nazis, but also with the Spaniards who set out to erase Aztec culture and religion in the unimaginable future. We are watching the Aztecs in a scenario for which they have much victimhood capital in the popular imagination. We learned that this movie is set in the terrible drought disaster of the mid-15th century. But we are not ready to dwell on that just yet. First we see an extraordinary reconstruction of the latest world creation. Here we see the sun god Tonatiuh. If he looks familiar, it's because you're used to seeing him in the heart of the Aztec sunstone. This wonderfully trippy sequence seamlessly melds the Aztec creation myth with the real-life natural disaster crisis of the 1450s. The call goes out, the reigning sun is withering away. Won't one gallant god sacrifice himself into the flames to become the new sun for the fifth era? The assembled gods hail human emperor Moctezuma, but it is the syphilitic and naked commoner god Olin, it means movement or earthquake, who steps up to the plate. For the good of mankind. For that is the species currently taking its turn to dominate the earth. Yes, you did hear that right. Now, while a narrator tells the tale of past eras and mass extinctions, I want to digress a while to say Aztec creation beliefs are hauntingly close to a description of the Earth's prehistory. Garbled to the point of having reverse evolution, to be sure. Although they've got men becoming fish, we can allow for the story being filtered through minds that partook of magic mushrooms. So, as they explain, they conceived of the past as being 5 main eras, including this 5th one, called the 5 Suns. Each era ended in a great mass extinction, which is just what science now tells us, although not everyone recognizes the same exact several. Look at this post-dinosaur era one. The Aztecs seem to have a garbled version of that. Was that Pleistocene era not dominated by big cats? Well, here's how the Aztecs saw the son of jaguars in the distant past, even to the extent of the jaguars clashing with early man. Catastrophe from the sky, mass dieback, and the storyteller now pushes a cactus thorn through his earlobe, an auto-sacrifice of blood. The eras were named for their destructor, and the wind put paid to a world dominated by men who became monkeys in the disaster. Come on, folks, that still sounds like a garbled retelling of evolution, with loss of order provided by a habit of taking magic mushrooms, I suppose. Another auto-sacrifice. This was also done by pricking the tongue or foreskin. Have you ever heard of such a thing as a cosmic rain of fire wiping out nearly all life on Earth? Tezcatlipoca's rain of fire cleansed the world of dominant life forms. Except those that evolved into birds, they went on to dominate the bleak new world, which sounds a lot like the prehistory we know. They did well to know that the Earth had been deluged with water in some earlier era, which is what science would later reveal about the Ordovician period, the Silurian period, and of course the Devonian period. Echoes of an unknowable prehistory everywhere, and, as if to give my thesis instant plot armour, they recorded the several eras in different orders too. The movie gets difficult to follow here, you see. The earthly Aztec emperor is dreaming this, and the gods urge him to jump into the fire and rejuvenate the earth, but he pikes out. It comes down to the wretched, syphilitic Nahuatl, or Olin. Caution viewers, he is actually tackle out in this scene. Just why he looks like the later civilian protagonist of this movie puzzles me. As every Aztec knew, he threw himself into the flaming pit and became the fifth sun, lighting up the world, and waking up the dreaming emperor. And the new era is named Motion, or Earthquake. Funny, I'm narrating this on the Aztec calendar day 12 Olin, in the fortnight 1 Death, which is ruled over by that same god Tonatiuh. So, awakening from that dream, the emperor is beset by phantoms, and sees the sun in the sky as a challenge, a leftover from the dream, mocking him for his failure by the fire pit. I do love that Maquahui sword club, basically a cricket bat with straight razors of volcanic glass set along both edges, standard Aztec weapon. And the emperor has died. We see him portrayed in an Aztec manuscript, bound upright in a funerary bundle. But they've stupidly left the Spanish handwriting from 50 years in the future on the pages. By the way, that 1468 death date is controversial. Most books would say 1469. And now for a part of the movie that I wish would take a full hour, but takes a few seconds. The lovely outdoor scenes of the heart of the Aztec Empire. I've put this on 1/8 speed to make it last more than 2 seconds. That's how long that sequence there lasts. Here is a moment that is positively brilliant. Looking up the steps of this stone temple. Wait for it. Yes, did you pick that we were actually looking down the steps all that time? Marvellous illusion. Cheap as this production is, this is a creditable effort to do an Aztec back banner. See the figure on the right here, from which feather regalia would be displayed. And here you see an original Aztec manuscript, the Codex Mendoza, with the back-mounted framework shown from the front. He passes a Jaguar Knight. Oh yeah. In this movie's signature aesthetic, he is wearing body paint, whereas in reality these men wore suits of cotton or of jaguar hide. How could anyone even think of skimping on a Jaguar Knight costume? These spectacular Aztec elite troops are very popular with artists who often do get it right, like in all the examples you've just seen, but there's a long tradition of getting them hideously wrong also. Look, original pictures like these show it was a suit. By the way, that suit was worn over thick padded armour. It should never be shown skin tight. One of the low points was that bizarre TV series Deadliest Warrior, in which a Jaguar Knight once got the starring role.
An Aztec Jaguar warrior, swift-moving slayer of the ancient Mexican Empire. The backbone of the mighty Aztec army was the Jaguar warrior. To intimidate the enemy, these brutal troops covered their bodies in the skins of jaguars.
Never mind skins, would it kill these people just to dress the men in full body suits of jaguar patterns That's how it was.
In special weapons, the Aztec Jaguar gets the edge with a Temetlatl sling.
No, that weapon is too low class for them to use. No one ever attested to it. Elite nobles don't want to look like peasants.
And move just as swiftly. The swift death wasn't granted to their enemies. The Jaguar's mission is something far more horrific.
They were the ones that went out there, human flesh.
In special weapons.
And the glittering TV series Mankind, the Story of All of Us probably sank lower than everyone else put together.
Aztec warriors are on a hunt. They chase down the leader of an enemy tribe.
Fake and gay. They take the story of Tlahuicol, Tlaxcala's greatest warrior, captured in a pitched battle between the Aztec and Tlaxcalan armies. Yes, a pitched battle, not a manhunt in the jungle. It was at Huixotzinco in 1516. This 60-year-old Mexican movie did it much better. Note that Tlaxcalans had jaguar and eagle knights just like the Aztecs did. High on the heady fumes of watching Mel Gibson's Apocalypto, which has nothing to do with the Aztecs, they just had to turn this story, which you're still seeing in these pictures, into Apocalypto. Accuracy is sacrificed. Tlahuicol was given the ultimate honor of death by gladiatorial sacrifice, being tied to a stone and made to fight a succession of eagle and jaguar knights. He beat all 27 they sent, even the customary left-handed one.
Aztec men are trained to fight from puberty.
Oh, scary, scary. Don't we look mean?
The fiercest become jaguar knights.
No, you have got to look mean.
Oh, right. Sorry.
It's sad to record that they actually went to a lot of effort to look this fake, in a conscious act of misinforming the public. Let's look also at one more documentary series which has an episode about Aztec eagle knights. They look quite passable, from the neck up. The rest is a fail, I'm afraid, although that Necuepaliztli sword club is damn good. Back to our movie now. Accurate details in signalling by conch shell trumpet and burning the copiously smoky copal incense. Good. I just love the choice of location, Malinalco, a temple complex for the eagle and jaguar knights, carved from the living rock on the most sensitive frontier they had, close to the Tarascan Empire of present-day Michoacan. A nation depicted with creditable accuracy in a dodgy movie made by the self-same crew as this present movie. I will be reviewing Erendira Ikukunari at a later date. So, what we are seeing here is the funerary rites for Motokuzoma. They retrieve the turquoise burial mask, then they convey it to the late ruler where he sits in state. I think they've done a damn good job of giving solid form to that manuscript illustration you saw before. And placing the mask on the late ruler is a task for the snake woman, Tlacaelel, the great architect and puppet master of the Aztec conquest state. The snake woman sports way too much facial hair. An Indian is flat out growing even tiny wisps of a moustache, like this more accurate portrayal here. So, next time one of these sad bandwagon jockeys wants to sprout one of these lines, jump in, cut him off and say, Soy Boy 87 is about to say something nauseatingly racist about every Native American who ever lived, and see if he, or she, wants to keep going after that. And please learn that a vagina is entirely internal, not external. Oh yeah, Aztec snake women were men, unlike hipsters. Back to Tlacaelel. An authentic fascist, he served for half a century as the Alfred Rosenberg, the Constantine Pobedonostsev, and the Cardinal Richelieu, all rolled into one, of a conquest state as shameless as ancient Rome. He forged the Aztec state ideology, which hinged on a deal cut with the god Huitzilopochtli to conquer nations, to harvest blood and hearts for the god, who then scheduled more victories for his chosen master race, the Aztecs. And now the whole plot of the movie is set up in 2 or 3 lines. Huitzilopochtli and his chosen people have been neglecting his mother, so let's go cap in hand back to her, whatever it takes. Yes, the expedition to Aztlan was all about the war god Huitzilopochtli and his neglected mother Coatlicue. I suspect the movie was sending us a signal about this when we saw Tlacaelel wearing a medallion of feathers on his chest. Huitzilopochtli was conceived when Coatlicue, sweeping a temple in Aztlan, saw a strange bunch of hummingbird feathers and stuck them in her blouse. The movie does well to pack subtle tribute to this into the background. But it had nothing to do with the drought, which had ended years before this expedition. The stated goal was just straightforward curiosity to find out about the origins of their mighty nation. Interest in the goddess was just incidental, and the gifts they carried, shown being bundled up here in the movie, were for giving to humans. Already, this confusing movie has got the better of me. I can't tell anymore if it's in flashback or not. I found this valiant effort at a synopsis of the movie on the net, but it does little to lessen the confusion, really. Look, if this sequence switches to a flashback from the distant past, then how come no one ages and everyone is wearing the same clothes in both the flashback and in the present day moments? This question matters because the new emperor cannot know what the last one was dreaming 1 minute before he died without speaking to anyone, yet the emperor knows that some peasant somewhere looks disturbingly like the god in that other man's dream. Well, if it's a new emperor and not the emperor flashback the brain hurty, the movie tells us it is the late emperor because the presence of 2 sage old advisors now is a page from the reign of Moctezuma, not Ashiacat, his successor. The extra one is the man, you see him mentioned in Duran's book quoted there, with the second most studly name in the world, Quauhcoatl. It means eagle serpent. And he breaks them the bad news that Aztlan is pretty much Australia. I mean, look at it. The ground is covered in thorns and sharp stones, weeds that bite you, snakes from arsehole to breakfast. Yes, it's practically Australia. It's uninhabitable. Yeah, and here's the clincher. If they slow you down to 40 kilometres per hour for 10 kilometres before and after the road closure, we'll know the identification's correct. And full points for this gorgeous reproduction of the Codex Buterini, showing the Aztecs' flight from Aztlan, by no means the only ancient codex that shows this event, as you can see. Actually, they believed that Huitzilopochtli was a flesh-and-blood man at that date. You see him being carried on someone's back here, perhaps a statue of the great culture hero after he died and became a deity. Now, this venerable court historian suffers a flashback. He reminisces about the days when the late emperor called together all the magic users in his domain to return to the ancestral homeland. And now the habit of skimping on actual costumes by just using body paint goes berserk. To return to Aztlan, please note, without actually physically going anywhere near it. No, these guys were expected to go there on a magical trip. Consulting the good book again, we see it all couched in terms comforting to a 16th century Spanish reader, namely, the devil did it. One of the things that make this movie supremely confusing is on show here. Men attending the Emperor, many years apart, look exactly the same on both occasions, even down to having the same smearing of the body paint on their left arms. Oh, that's asking for confusion. Come on, guys. Mind reading is still just science fiction. Do not rely on your viewers having this power, please. The movie correctly names the gifts which the magicians took. Note that chocolate beans were actual currency in the Aztec Empire, and that he is not kidding about the finest feathers in the world. That means the Quetzal, whose feathers were and still are the holy grail of feathers. Feathers that waft back and forth from metallic green to metallic blue as they catch the light. Its metre-long tail feathers were the costliest luxury in Mesoamerica, and the privilege of wearing them had to be earned. Banish any thought of buying a Quetzal feather on the net. My dozens of searches have all rung up a zero. And yes, I do know it's pronounced Quetzal, but not in Aztec times it wasn't. Sadly, modern dancing troupes are chronically incapable of looking at a picture of one, and they spend up big on birds that did not live in ancient Mexico, like the ostrich, or the Lady Amherst's pheasant, or the peacock. I'm trying not to say anything disparaging about these fuckwits, and samba dancers and beauty contestants, but they get privileged access to the Aztec sacred sites to dance, and documentary makers only ever heap praise on them. Even an emperor has nothing to add to glittering Quetzal plumes, so it's time for him to make an exit. Look, I'll say it again, showing the exact same costume many years apart is a prescription for confusing the viewers. Working within the limitations of their painted-on costuming, they attempt to portray the Huastec style of overalls, with sort of hawk scratches in pairs over its length, like you see in these modern-day artists' impressions, and in the 16th century Codex Mendoza, or in this accurate model. And, despite what the movie asserts here, it was not Tlacaelel who burned the books, but rather the #1 studliest name ever, Itzcoatl, Obsidian Serpent, 40 years earlier. And suddenly this movie breaks free and gets out into the wide open spaces at last. And this time it definitely is in flashback, damn it. Aztec menswear was pretty damned revealing, which is why there are hardly any reenactment groups who are not fake and gay. I just love this movie's abrupt switch to feeling like a spaghetti western in the finest Sergio Leone tradition. Ah, Lake Xaltocan and Lake Texcoco in drought. Thank you. Oh, will you give the flashbacks a miss already? A peasant snaps the thorn off the end of a maguey cactus leaf. You will soon see why. We now get a dose of Aztec real life, done far better than any big-budget movie has ever dared to do. They plant some seeds with little real hope of success, and bury a votive offering with it. I am not keen on this man's blue body paint. That should mark him as a sacrificial victim, or his excessive facial hair, but I do like his drumming technique. What this peasant is doing is pushing a cactus thorn through his foreskin and dripping the blood into the planted soil.
And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
Now that's Aztec real life. Men and women had to do auto-sacrifice. Yes, the ancient Mesoamerican peoples really did do this. Here the god Huitzilopochtli appears to be sacrificing blood to himself. Here is a famous king, Shieljagwa the Great of the Maya, and his queen pulling a cord of cactus thorns through her tongue. Here is a king of the Totonac people pulling a cord through his penis, and massively exaggerated cactus thorns in these pictures, of course. So let's put it away now and thrust out into the heartland of this movie. A local boy is strolling through the desolate maguey cactus plantation, which is now good only for piercing your old fella with, really. He finds a worm in the cactus and gobbles it down without telling his starving villagers. If you've taken the challenge of eating the worm in mezcal tequila, then note that this is where the beast comes from. And wussies, please note, there are plenty of fuckwits on YouTube telling you the great news that it's not a worm, just a caterpillar. Yippee! While we're here, this maguey or agave cactus was of critical importance to Mesoamerican people, and most people's clothes were made from it. You see, break it open and it's jam-packed with fibers, like this one. Making clothes that are second best for comfort to wearing a hessian sack to your skin, just what your sisal rope is made from. And, come to think of it, so are cat-scratching posts. And when nearing the end of its half-century lifespan, it shoots up a 30-foot tree. If managed the right way during that time, the core of the plant produces about 2 liters a day of runny sap, which can be sucked out by straw by that noble profession, the humidor, hence humidor tequila, and turned quickly into an alcoholic drink, pulque, called octli by the Aztecs, a drink fit for a god of war. And each leaf has a spine that you can use to guide the fibers through a loom, or to stick through your dick. Things take a very dark turn now. An Aztec tribute gathering squad descends on the village. Head tumblines. That's just how they did carry loads, suspended from their foreheads, as many still do today in Mexico. As the tribute collectors near the village, one of them is bitten by a rattlesnake, and spills some of the existing tribute load, unseen by his team, but seen by the local boy. This village is one of their own Aztec people, yet the officials behave like an army of occupation during some guerrilla war. This village has no men. Go ahead, search for Viet Cong sympathizers, that's what this scene brings to mind. This house is made of whole cacti. Well, it must let a lot of rain in, and dust, and cold. The drummer man has been spied on while hiding food for his people's use. Well, that's no good. The needs of the nation outweigh the needs of one greedy family. Looks like all the houses are made from whole cacti. What a magnificent yucca tree stand. And some more recalcitrant villagers letting the side down Watch this woman, with accurate Aztec married woman's hairstyle by the way, sin her great sin and steal the food for her own greedy purposes. The surplus is soon noticed missing, and the soldiers swoop on the man the spy saw hiding it. The drummer is summarily executed, and nobody's heartbeat goes over 65 for even a second, somehow. Guess they're used to this sort of thing in their village. They merely set in motion a process. Look, the Aztecs were fatalistic, that is true, but I doubt that murder is a commonplace in this little village. And you now hear what is very likely the only Aztec song you have ever heard, in Nahuatl, with double translation. The whole movie is on my channel. And this mournful dirge is the single most upbeat moment in this whole movie, bar none. And so the movie has made its brutal statement about the universal contempt of rulers for the ruled. But it's all an unnecessary fiction. As I showed you earlier, this was about curiosity, yet the state is falsely shown depriving the poor of next year's seeds for next year's crop, behaving like Trotsky's war communism or Stalin's engineered famine. That point wasn't worth making. But life goes on, which is itself a statement about the awful inevitability of death and taxes. You are seeing the most important female duty, the making of tortillas. The bag of tribute dropped by the snakebite victim is a baleful presence in their village. God knows how they didn't come back and collect it when they picked up the bitten man. The snakebite's the boy's father now, but it serves mainly to add confusion onto confusion. He looks like he's on death's door. Yet he's up and running soon, attending a meeting where he learns he must go to Aztlan. That furtive, clay-painted spy is on their case again. Poor snake-bitten Olin gets the job for two reasons: because he found the bag, and to provide pleasing symmetry to that dream sequence that started this movie. For that was the same actor, with the same character name, and speaking very much the same lines. Present day, dream sequence. I like how out here in the impoverished countryside they are wearing maguey fibre, not cotton like in the capital city with the important people. Honestly, movie, explain things now and then. Is he living or dead? Take careful note of the instructions the village elders give him for his lone mission to a goddess. Before setting out, he makes love to his wife, which would have to sting after that cactus thorn ritual. Yeah, but with walls of whole cacti and illuminated interior. Only have sex here if you don't mind being a public spectacle. That kind of public spectacle that the snake woman back in the capital city can read about in a book that foretold it long ago. Yes, you really need to work on soundproofing your little love nest, guys. For as the old saying goes, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single route. The powerful are conceiving the same strategy to find Aztlan. Ask that old wise woman on that hilltop. Although I've had a right royal gutful of all these goddamn flashbacks, I do want to show you this expedition setting out from Tenochtitlan on its epic quest to Aztlan. Fast-tracking their way north by canoe, gushing the sweet-smelling copal smoke, saluted by the peasantry from their floating gardens. Yes, this is a creditable effort to show the outskirts of the great city. Thank you, movie. Stuck in economy class, on the other hand, is Olin, trudging barefoot over the rocky landscape. He suspects that's the hill, but don't get this close to prickly pear if you know what's good for you. I mean it. I have vivid memories of getting the near-invisible hairs stuck painfully in my skin and wondering how the hell to get them out. These things are bad news. He gets help from a lad whose black body paint suggests a novice priest. Note: accurate Aztec clothing and weapons. Mugway fibre again. You've got to admire the sheer toughness of these plain-living Aztecs of old. And soon enough he encounters the ancient mother of the hill in her cave. Apparently, because the movie wasn't confusing enough already, we now learn those were his grandparents who gave him those instructions at that meeting in the dark. Then we learn that they were the venerable fathers. The ancient mother says that she is the sole survivor of the people who have come out from Aztlan, which would make her pretty old, because the books that Tlacaelel is looking at say that it happened 80 years before. And she too wallows in the fictions at the heart of this movie. That there is a drought on, a famine, and that Mexica warriors are out to get him. Tlacaelel is consulting the books again, where he sees the 2 missions to Aztlan painted on the page, and coming to life in his mind's eye. The magicians travel in stately pomp and self-importance, in contrast to the wretched Olin. And of course, with the fictitious famine in progress, we have to have thieves, marauders, robbers attacking him at every turn, like that boy in the black body paint was if he hadn't been suddenly caught. As he regathers his wits from the attack, he sees the biggest faggot he's ever seen, being carried by a strange man. The stranger reminds us of the giant fiction at the heart of this movie, that these are times of drought and famine. They have Conan the Barbarian-style campfire banter, which is a good thing. Rather unconvincingly, the man claims to be an Aztec Pochteca merchant, despite being alone and in a region of zero importance to the Aztecs. I just love that he tells the viewer what Huitzilopochtli means. Yes, the left-handed hummingbird. We get another glimpse of the magicians' expedition as well. But do they really know when the drought will break? Olin plods on his way again across fairly depressing terrain. And a wild beast rushes him, but the budget doesn't stretch to actual animal wrangling, so he just runs pell-mell from sound effects off screen. On seeing someone, anyone, he pleads for help, only for it to turn out to be a complete jerk. He gloats and cackles over Olin's predicament, And we have seen this weirdo in that creation dream sequence at the start of the movie, so I suspect it is the great god Tezcatlipoca, the great trickster who delighted in going among earthly men, setting tests for them. But he would be most indulgent if you stood up to him, and even got the better of him. But only a fool would underestimate how black-hearted this god could be, this downright bitchin' god, as gods go. Yes, he's definitely looking at you. I know I'm in the clear. Even in his aspect of Chalchiutatolin, precious turkey, he commanded dread and awe. So I think we are seeing him now, in his towering prat mode, offering a desperate man the gift of laughter, just while he is cornered jaguar bait.
Is there someone else up there we can talk to? No.
And no doubt he's wearing a coyote skin there. Back at the village, what's this? Those tribute collectors actually did get interested in that lost tribute bag after all? Dude. Fuck, this movie is confusing. And we get the point. We get the point that being a commoner is pretty much a lose-lose situation. The magicians have reached the hill of Coatepec, where they take the easy option and badger the gods to turn them into animals. Well, that's what the chronicles say. But by doing it tough, the peasant guy gets results first. And a mystery lady begins talking to him. He calls her Ancient Mother, just like that lady in the cave. Then he smartens up and addresses her as the goddess. Note the Aztec custom of tasting the earth in submission. It is advisable to go 20-second elevator pitch when meeting a god who actually shuts up for a precious moment. And he does. You bet your ass she knows nothing of rain. The movie's fictions have come home to roost, you see. Every Aztec would know to go to this god, Tlaloc, to pray for rain and grow the corn. No, rain is simply not Coatlique's portfolio. Which just serves to clinch the identification that she is the goddess Coatlique. He gambles on this being the goddess and solemnly hands over the offering. Holy crap, he just gave a goddess the gift of dirt. But who could have swindled him? But all things considered, he has fulfilled his mission now. Now let's check on the magicians' parallel expedition. They're still on the hill of Coatepec, and I think they are shape-shifting into beasts. You can hear off-screen growling again. And so they scoot off to Aztlan in beast mode. But you can imagine how pissed off this poor bastard is feeling. Snubbed by a goddess and doomed to plod around the vacant lot behind his old school, I suppose. So, how must he feel when he finds a rope, a lifeline on which depends that jack-off in the coyote pelt? First he gets the bow and arrows, gets them back after he had to give them to that prat. Then he totally maroons him in the gorge. No, fuck him. By the way, the peoples north of the Aztecs, the Chichimecs, did look like this. I do love a good bow hunting adventure as much as the next man, so here goes. But another bow hunter is already on the case, and with this movie's signature confusing style, I can't tell if he was aiming at the rabbit or at the man. Well, he got the game. You've got to be hard to win out in times of drought. And famine makes you do desperate things like sneak up to steal the other hunter's rabbit from his cave and get slammed. And in yet another confusing scene, he seems to be alive and well. Still, he does appear to suck at survival in a drought situation, so what's the solution? That's right, pissing rain to break the drought that actually didn't happen, remember? And apparently the rain falls on the magicians too. These are some evocative scenes, well done. Fictitious as this is, and even though the wrong deity brings the rain, still I kind of like how erratic she was to grant drought-breaking rain after being given such a shit gift. And we see the magician's glory in a moment of confusion, of course. I give up. So what kind of homecoming does Olin enjoy? Returning all mission accomplished and drought fixed? Oh, come on, how long did you think this movie would be so upbeat and rollicking good fun as it has been lately? He is awed by the sight of the great city in the lake, but I'd have to say no. He must have done military service by this age, so his world is bigger than some pissant village would imply. Canoes were the main Aztec form of transport. Furthering the film's pointless theme of man's inhumanity to man, they execute Olin without a pretense of a trial. It gets confusing yet again. I think these men are nervous that they slew a messenger from a goddess and contemplating a cover-up, but I'm not sure. Clucker LL does read it though, and now the climax. At last, we see Aztlan. Not so fast, viewers. We will view Aztlan as a flashback within a flashback. What did you think it was going to be? Goddamn, there it is at last. Correctly, the magicians shapeshift back to human form, taking the ancestral Aztecs of Aztlan by surprise. I also think this elder becomes youthful again by ascending the pyramid. Correct. But the Mexica becomes strangely heavy and cannot start walking up the steps to eternal youth. Again, correct, as per the chronicles. So, are you ready to see the goddess, made manifest right before your eyes? What, behind the bad Day of the Dead clown? No, that is her. Yeah? Look, that was pretty harsh of me. Her appearance does fit in with this film's signature aesthetic. This is Coatlicue in a gargantuan statue only rediscovered in the 18th century. Note the skirt of snakes for which she is named, serpents facing each other to form the head. A necklace of severed hands and torn out hearts. This, on the other hand, is a pack of fuckwits imagining that they are worshipping Coatlicue at the People's Climate March in New York City. Wankety wank. More of those dildonic Aztec poser dances that I ranted about earlier, and not any better yet. These greeny soy boys would run a mile if they met the real Coatlicue, and their special needs Gaia god, gayer than what I'm not sure, would lose his vegan lunch. But in Return to Aztlan, we just get an ordinary auntie with Codex-inspired makeup. Yes, they did use the same actress for all three roles. Old Lady of the Hill, Mystery Lady, and Goddess in Aztlan. Again, it's not the movie we wanted, it's the movie we actually got. This movie handles the abandoned mother goddess with sensitivity and poignancy. She is bitter about her prodigal son and gives them a gift for him. A peasant's inferior cactus fibre breechclout, or loincloth, for when he eventually comes crawling back begging for mercy. Here's the loincloth for some brave man to give to the god of war, and the old man has regained his youth by ascending that temple. I wouldn't have left it as long as he left it, though. All very well for the fossilized Aztecs of Aztlan, but the Mexica Aztecs from the modern world can't even set foot on that temple. The explorers bring out the gift from the goddess, but confusion reigns yet again. Have they substituted the dead peasant's loincloth? I'm not even going to try to figure this out anymore. So now it's time for the movie to strap on its plot armour to explain away conveniently its fictitious subplot about the brutality of the state towards the common man. What device will we use? The movie's self-indulgent statement about oppression, which is absent from the ancient records, is neatly tied off by having the cynical old Tlacaelel suppress the incriminating book, and even burn the gift from the goddess. He spent his career playing God, and we see him doing that here expertly. Remember this? I really think it's too much symmetry, as Olin just couldn't be described as a great warrior, but then most prophecies are more hit and miss than they're cracked up to be. And the movie consoles poor Olin by reprising his glory moment, in a dream, of hurling himself into the flames and giving light to the new world. That honestly is a happy ending by this movie's standards. And a quick Where Are They Now segment. Why did we never see who the new emperor is? He should be Axayacatl, a great conqueror who ascended the throne aged 19 and is best remembered for conquering Tlatelolco, a rival empire based on, would you believe, the same little island as the Aztecs' city of Tenochtitlan. They couldn't have broken a sweat getting there. Oh, and I nearly forgot, his sister, Chalchiuhnanetzen, was a notorious serial killer. Check out the video about her here on my channel. They would go to war largely because the king of Tlatelolco, Necuepaliztli, didn't find his wife satisfactory. Chalchiunanetzen was her name, Precious Jade Vulva. Another Chalchiunanetzen of the Aztec royal family. Another one. Her crime was to have too small an ass for Necuepaliztli's liking. Kind of like him. Note, the wiki page hopelessly confuses these two separate women with the same name. Ashiacatl invaded Tlatelolco wearing a flayed human skin as a suit. When Necuepaliztli realized he was losing the battle, he unleashed one of military history's most bug-fuck berserk weapons ever. A battalion of naked women squirting milk from their breasts into the Aztec army's faces. Yes, really. By the way, if you're a military commander and you're thinking of fielding lactamazons, please note results were less than expected. All things considered, the scene you're watching right now probably cost more than Return to Aztlan cost. I hope that doesn't sound too unkind. It is seriously low budget and backyard, but I love the fact that it was done at all. Viewers, for watching this humble one-man effort right through to the end. You do me much honour.